My name is John. I am 20 years old. I am from Italy, and I live in a small town with my parents. Our town is quiet and beautiful, with small streets, old buildings, and friendly neighbors. I like my town, but I always dream of something more. I want to see the world and have new experiences. I want to study in New York City. In my town, I study English at a small school. My teacher says, "John, you are very good at English. You should study in another country." Her words make me happy. I start thinking about New York, a big city full of life and opportunities. I imagine myself walking on the busy streets, learning in a real classroom, and speaking English every day. One day, a woman visits our town. She is from a big city in Italy, and she looks very confident. She talks about a school in New York. She says, "This school is amazing. You will learn English very fast. Many students go there and they all love it." Her words are exciting. She shows me pictures of the school and students smiling. She says, "You can study here too. I can help you. I feel so excited. This is my chance. I want to go." The woman gives me some papers. She says, "Fill out these forms and give me the money for the school. I will take care of everything." I believe her. She seems so nice and professional. I do not think about the risk. When I tell my parents about the school, they do not share my excitement. My father says, "New York is dangerous. You don't know anyone there." My mother says, "Are you sure about this woman? Do you trust her? Be careful, John." I listen to them, but I do not change my mind. I say, "This is my dream. I want to study English. I want to learn and grow." My father looks worried. He says, "Dreams are good, but you must think carefully. What if something goes wrong?" I smile and say, "Nothing will go wrong, Dad. I will be careful." For days, I think about New York. I look at pictures of the city on my phone, the tall buildings, the yellow taxis, the bright lights. Everything looks so exciting. I tell my best friend Sophia about my plan. She says, "That sounds amazing, John. I want to go with you. Let's go together." I feel so happy. Sophia is my best friend, and I know she will support me. I start making plans. I dream about the future, and I feel ready to take the first step toward my new life. My parents are still worried, but I tell them, "This is my chance. I will be safe. I promise." I do not know what will happen, but I feel brave. I am ready for my adventure. New York, here I come. The day after I decide to go to New York, I start making a list of everything I need. I write down clothes, books, and personal items. I also include important documents like my passport and the papers the woman gave me about the school. I feel excited, but also a little nervous. I want to be ready for this big adventure. I talk to Sophia about our plan. She says, "John, we need to book our tickets soon." I agree. We check flights online and find one that is affordable. It will leave in 2 weeks. I feel a rush of excitement. 2 weeks is not a long time. At home, I start packing my bag. My mother helps me. She says, "John, take warm clothes. New York can be very cold." She also gives me some snacks for the trip. "You might feel hungry on the plane," she says. My father watches me pack. He looks worried, but he does not say much. Sophia and I meet every day to prepare. She is as excited as I am. She brings her camera and says, "I want to take so many pictures. We will remember this trip forever." We also talk about what we will do in New York. "We should visit Times Square," Sophia says, "and the Statue of Liberty," I add. We laugh and dream about all the fun we will have. A few days before our flight, My father gives me some money. He says, "John, keep this safe. Use it only if you really need it." I thank him and promise to be careful. My mother gives me a small notebook. "Write about your trip," she says. "I want to read your stories when you come back." Finally, the day of the flight arrives. Sophia and I wake up early. My parents take us to the airport. The drive is quiet. My mother looks at me with tears in her eyes. She says, "John, please call us when you land." I hug her and say, "I will, Mom. Don't worry." At the airport, everything feels big and new. Sophia and I check our bags and get our tickets. We go through security and find our gate. My heart is beating fast. I look at Sophia and say, "We are really doing this. We are going to New York." She smiles and says, "Yes, we are." When it is time to board the plane, I feel a mix of emotions. I am excited, nervous, and a little scared. I wave goodbye to my parents one last time. Then Sophia and I walk on to the plane. As I sit down and fasten my seatbelt, I think about everything ahead. This is the beginning of my dream. I feel ready. Sophia and I sit next to each other on the plane. It's my first time flying, and everything feels new. I look out the window and see the airport getting smaller and smaller. The plane lifts off the ground, and I feel a mix of excitement and nervousness. "We are really going to New York," I say to Sophia. She smiles and says, "Yes, John." This is the start of our adventure. The flight attendants bring drinks and snacks. I take a small sandwich and some juice. "The food is not bad," Sophia says, laughing. We watch a movie on the small screen in front of us. It is an American movie with English subtitles. I try to follow along and read the subtitles. "This is good practice," I tell Sophia. She agrees. After the movie, I look around the plane. People are reading, sleeping, or talking quietly. The sound of the engines is loud but steady. I feel calm. I take out my notebook and write a few lines. We are flying high above the clouds. The world looks so small from here. I can't believe I'm going to New York. Sophia and I talk about our plans. "What do you want to do first when we arrive?" Sophia asks. I think for a moment. "I want to see Times Square. I want to feel the energy of the city," I say. Sophia says, "And I want to eat a New York pizza." I heard it is the best. We laugh and continue dreaming about our trip. As the hours pass, I start to feel tired. The flight is long, and the excitement is turning into exhaustion. I close my eyes and try to sleep. The seat is not very comfortable, but I manage to rest for a while. When I wake up, Sophia is looking out the window. "John, look," she says, "the lights of New York City." I lean over and look out the window. It is dark outside, but I can see the city lights shining brightly below. It looks magical. My heart beats faster. "We are almost there," I whisper. I feel a mix of emotions again: excitement, happiness, and a little fear. What will happen next? Will everything go as planned? When the plane lands, everyone claps. Sophia and I smile at each other. "We made it," I say. We grab our bags and follow the crowd to the exit. As we step off the plane, I take a deep breath. The air feels different. This is it. I am in New York City. My dream is starting now. When Sophia and I arrive at the airport, everything feels big and overwhelming. The signs are in English, and the people around us speak so fast. I try to listen carefully, but it is hard to understand. "Stay close to me," I say to Sophia. She nods and holds her bag tightly. We follow the signs to get our luggage. Once we have our bags, we take a taxi to the address the woman gave me. I am so excited. This is it. I tell Sophia. We will see the school soon. The taxi driver is kind and talks to us. He asks, "Where are you from?" I smile and say, "Italy." He says, "Welcome to New York," and I feel happy. But when we arrive at the address, my excitement disappears. The building looks old and empty. I check the paper again. "This is the right address," I say, confused. Sophia looks worried. "Maybe it's the wrong place," she says. We knock on the door, but no one answers. I call the phone number the woman gave me, but the call doesn't go through. "This can't be happening," I whisper. We stand outside the building for a long time, not knowing what to do. Finally, I realize the truth. "This is a scam," I say. "The school isn't real." My hands start shaking. I open my bag to check my money, but it's gone. "Sophia, they took everything." I cry. Sophia looks scared. "What do we do now, John?" she asks. I don't have an answer. We find a small cafe nearby and sit down. I feel lost. The waiter notices our worried faces and asks, "Is everything okay?" I explain what happened, and he shakes his head. "I'm so sorry." He says, "This happens sometimes to tourists. Be careful in this city." The waiter gives us some free coffee and a little advice. There's a cheap hotel down the street. "Maybe you can stay there tonight," he says. I thank him, even though I feel embarrassed. Sophia and I walk to the hotel, but when we ask about a room, the manager says, "We need payment up front." I try to explain, but he doesn't listen. "No money, no room," he says. That night, Sophia and I have no choice but to sleep in a small park. It is cold, and I can't stop crying. I think about my parents and how they warned me. "Why didn't I listen?" I whisper. Sophia tries to comfort me. "We will figure it out," she says, but her voice sounds unsure. As I lie on the hard bench, I stare at the dark sky and feel completely alone. I left home with so many dreams, but now I don't even know what will happen tomorrow. For the first time, I feel afraid of New York City. The morning after our night in the park is cold and quiet. Sophia and I sit on a bench, trying to think of what to do next. I feel tired and hopeless. "John, we need help," Sophia says. I nod. She's right, but I don't know who to call. The only person I can think of is my father. With trembling hands, I take out my phone. I stare at the screen, unsure if I should call him. I remember his words. "Be careful, John. New York is dangerous." I feel ashamed. What will he say? What if he is angry? Sophia touches my arm. "It's okay. Just call him," she says softly. I take a deep breath and dial the number. It rings, and my heart pounds. Finally, my father answers. "John, is that you?" he says. His voice is calm, but I can hear the worry in it. Tears fill my eyes as I start to speak. "Dad, something bad happened." I explain everything. The fake school, the stolen money, and spending the night in the park. My voice shakes, and I can barely finish my sentences. My father listens quietly. When I finish, there is a long silence. Then he says, "John, why didn't you listen to me?" His words feel like a knife in my heart, but I know he is right. "I'm sorry, Dad," I whisper. "I didn't know this would happen." He sighs and says, "I'm not angry, John. I'm just worried about you. Are you safe now?" I look at Sophia, who gives me a small smile. I'm with Sophia. "We're okay, but we don't know what to do next," I tell him. My father pauses, then says, "I will send you some money. Use it wisely, John. Find a safe place to stay and be careful." His voice is firm but caring. I feel a wave of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Dad. I promise. I'll be careful this time," I say. A few hours later, Sophia and I go to a nearby bank to pick up the money my father sent. I hold the cash tightly in my hands, feeling a little safer. We find a small, cheap hostel and check in. The room is tiny with 2 beds and a small window, but it feels like heaven compared to the park. At least we have a roof over our heads, Sophia says with a smile. That evening, I sit on the bed and think about everything that has happened. I made a mistake, but I also learned an important lesson. I open the notebook my mother gave me and start to write. Today, I learned that dreams can be dangerous if you are not careful, I write. But I also learned that family will always be there for you. Sophia and I make a plan for the next few days. I still want to stay in New York. I don't want this experience to ruin my dream. We can't give up, I tell Sophia. She nods and says, "We came here for a reason. Let's make it work." That night, I sleep better than I have in days. I don't know what will happen next, but for the first time, I feel hopeful. After settling into the hostel, I realize I can't waste any more time. I need to find a real school to study English. With Sophia's help, I search online and visit different places in the city. Most schools are expensive, but finally, I find a small language center in a busy part of New York. The name is simple: Learn English Together. The building looks old, but the inside feels warm and welcoming. I meet the teacher, a kind woman named Miss Taylor. She smiles and says, "Welcome, John. You will learn a lot here." Her English is clear and slow, and I feel hopeful. The class has students from different countries: Japan, Brazil, India, and Mexico. Everyone is friendly, and I feel comfortable right away. Miss Taylor encourages us to speak in English even if we make mistakes. Every day, I attend class and take notes. Miss Taylor teaches us useful phrases, grammar, and vocabulary, but I soon realize that learning English is not just about being in a classroom. When I walk through the streets of New York, I hear people speaking English everywhere. I listen carefully, trying to understand their conversations. I need to use English all the time. I tell Sophia one evening, not just in class. She agrees. From then on, we make a rule. We will only speak English to each other, even if it feels strange at first. At the hostel, I talk to other travelers and practice simple sentences. Sometimes I get stuck, but people are patient and kind. As the weeks pass, I start to make friends from my class. Maria from Brazil teaches me funny expressions in Portuguese, and I share some Italian phrases with her. Hiro from Japan is shy, but very good at grammar. He helps me understand things I don't know. We study together at a nearby cafe, where I also practice ordering coffee and food in English. Little by little, I feel more confident. One day, while walking through Central Park, I meet an older woman who asks me for directions. At first, I panic, but then I manage to explain where she needs to go. "Thank you, young lady," she says with a smile. I feel proud of myself. Months go by, and my English improves. I can have longer conversations without feeling nervous. I write an email to my parents and tell them about my progress. "I am okay now," I write. "I learned a lot from my mistakes. New York is hard, but I am stronger." My father replies quickly, saying he is proud of me. His words mean so much to me. One evening, I walk alone through the city. The streets are bright with lights, and people are everywhere. I think about everything that has happened since I arrived: the scam, the struggles, and the lessons. I smile and say to myself, this is just the beginning.